My name is Stephanie Hertz, Marketing Director here at Warwick Forest Retirement Community. Warwick Forest is the premier sponsor for Lifelong Learning Society, and we welcome you to the Riverside Lecture Series. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Cynthia Stillman. Cynthia joined ChooseHome Riverside in 2019 as Marketing Manager and Senior Consultant. Prior to ChooseHome, she spent the majority of her decades-long career in healthcare information technology, focusing on improving provider-patient communications and patient care. While working in Northern Virginia, she first learned of continuing care at home and later joined Goodwin House at Home, where she served prior to joining ChooseHome. She finds her work in continuing care at home industry gratifying and enjoys helping older adults build plans for better futures. She holds a master's degree in business administration from the University of Texas and a Bachelor of Science in Business from the University of North Carolina. She's a certified senior advisor, and a fun fact is she's also a certified yoga instructor. Today's lecture is entitled Aging Safely and Well in the Place of Your Choosing. Please welcome Cynthia Stillman.
Welcome everyone to Aging Safely and Well in the Place of Your Choosing. I'm Cynthia Stillman. I'm a certified senior advisor and I'm a senior consultant for ChooseHome Riverside. So is there anyone here who does not want to age safely and well in the place of their choosing? Probably not. Is there anyone here who is not aging? Well, you look like you're not aging very much, but chances are you are probably aging at least a little bit from year to year. So point being, obviously, the information I'm going to present today is for everyone. So aging safely and well in the place of your choosing. First begins with thinking about where is it that you want to be for the rest of your life? And it doesn't have to mean forever. It could mean for the next 5 years, and then maybe the next 10, 20, or 30 years after that, or the next 10 and the next 10. But thinking about where it is that you really want to be for the rest of your life. So we have lots of options. Of course, you can move into a retirement community. You can move into a continuing care retirement community so that you have the whole continuum of care through independent living, through nursing facility-based care. You can remain in your home through end of life. There is virtually nothing that can be done for you in a retirement community, in a continuing care retirement community, that cannot not also be done for you in your home. You could even come up with some sort of innovative plan of your own, like moving to a tropical island. It is possible to do that safely, and that's sort of a metaphorical tropical island because you may have a different place in your head of where you really want to be. It's possible to do any of these things safely. Now, I'm not really going to talk a lot about moving to a tropical island because that is not my subject matter expertise. But if you figure out how to do that, I hope you will give me a call. I'm very interested in that, and I think maybe CNU would like to hear about that. Others might be interested in a plan like that as well, too. So maybe you'll be presenting that here someday. So if your goal or your plan is to move into a retirement community or a continuing care retirement community, go talk to the community, right? Don't wait. Understand what their eligibility requirements are for independent living. Look at their contracts, look at their pricing, see if that's a fit for you. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about retirement communities. I can probably answer questions because, of course, Riverside does have these facilities. But what I'm really going to do is talk a lot about aging in place in your home. Caveat here being that your home could be the current place where you're living now, or it could even be independent living within a retirement community. So that's your home as much as your home is now. So whether your goal is to remain in your current home through end of life or tropical island or something else in between, it requires really only one thing to do it safely and well. One thing. Can anyone venture a guess about what that one thing might be? Well, I'll tell you. What is it? Okay, that's under it. That's a subcategory. He said it requires money, and yes, it does. But First, it requires a plan. So all of us need to plan to age safely and well in the place of their choosing, yet many of us don't. I would venture that most, if not all of you, have planned for certain end-of-life circumstances, right? You may have a will. You probably do have a will. You've probably written some advance directives. I would venture to guess that fewer of you have planned for your long-term care. Well, why is that? Why are we not so good about planning for our long-term care? As far as I know, there are a couple of reasons. One is simply denial. I can admit, I suppose, my mortality. I can admit that death is probably going to happen for me. No time soon, but someday. It's much more difficult for me to admit that my current status, my needs and abilities are going to decline. It is very difficult for me to admit that I am going to become needier than I am right now. The other reason that most of us are not so good about planning for our long-term care is really fear. It's scary to think about becoming dependent. It's scary to think about my needs and ability declining. It's scary about having to need help. So fear is another reason that we don't plan. But I really believe that for those of you who maybe have or will put together a plan, it can help that black cloud of fear go away. That contributes to sort of that low-level anxiety of, I should do something, I should do something. Once you have a plan, you have done something. And I believe that that can help us all to do better. So I want to give you an example of a long-term care denier. So my father was a long-term care denier. First, he denied that he was having any trouble with his driving, and he was able to deny it until he hit a fire truck. His reason for hitting the fire truck was, well, I didn't see it. So at that point, we were able to intervene and fortunately persuade my father that he was no longer safely to drive. He was also a denier that he was starting to need help at home. He denied this vehemently until I got a call from his physician who said, your father is no longer able to live safely at home. My father was 83 at the time. I called him. I said, Dad, I need to talk to you. Your physician called me. He said, you are no longer able to live safely without help at home. And my father responded with, well, my doctor's old. So I said, you know what, Dad? So are you. And he paused. That was sort of a mic drop moment. And we were able to start putting together a plan at that point. Nonetheless, planning is really important. Why is planning important? Number one, planning limits the consequences to our loved ones. Planning for our long-term care limits the consequences to our loved ones. Have you ever had to step in and care for someone who did not have a plan? Or maybe you've seen friends, neighbors, loved ones who didn't have a plan. Long-term care, the decline of long-term care can be literally like the roof falling in your house. You sit around and you sit around and you sit around, and eventually things happen. And if you're not prepared, it can be catastrophic. Now, if we're lucky enough to have loved ones, our loved ones are going to step in, right, and help to do some damage control. But that damage control can be costly to our loved ones, right? It can be an enormous financial burden. It can be a physical burden if they're trying to actually do the physical work for caring of us. And it can be a real emotional burden because trying to coordinate care, especially for our loved ones, is very difficult, time-consuming, stressful work. So by making a plan for our long-term care, we can limit the consequences to our loved ones. Next, planning ahead for our long-term care empowers us to make the choices for our future, empowers us to make our plans. Have any of you seen, I'm sure you have, those commercials, A Place for Mom, right? The implication is that mom didn't get it together to choose her own place. So now we have to figure something out to do about mom. So I don't want my kids making those decisions for me. You might. My children did not listen to me when they were teenagers, and I knew some things better than they did. They didn't take my advice at that point. And it's not that this is payback. It's simply that I am an adult and I want to make my choices, because if I'm not making my own choices, then I'm losing my autonomy. And that's not something that makes me feel good. I want to keep my autonomy, as much of my autonomy, for as long as possible. And part of that means making a plan while I have the capacity to do so, and then acknowledging that I may need assistance to help execute that plan. But I want to be in charge of my future. I don't want someone else making those decisions. And then finally, the better the plan, the better the outcomes. Planning for our long-term care is important for the same reasons that planning for a wedding. Maybe some of you have planned for your funeral. Maybe you've written your eulogy. Planning for your long-term care is just as important, because you probably have, if you think about it, a vision of how you want things to unfold. They're much more likely to unfold that way if you plan for it. So planning is important. So I am going to give you a framework for planning for long-term care. This framework can be applied whether you move into a community, which takes care of a lot of the planning, or you move to that tropical island, and especially if your plan is to remain at home. Aging safely at place in your home requires more than simply the intention to do so, right? It requires a plan. So what should we plan for when we consider our long-term care futures? 3 components of planning. If you have these 3 components, you will have a rock-solid plan. Number 1, financial preparedness and protection. Do your homework. What is your plan going to cost you? How are you going to pay for it? And how can you best protect your assets in the process? So, financial protection. Equally important, care coordination and advocacy. Who is going to do all the work for your long-term care? Who's going to coordinate the care, manage the care, oversee the care, help with the administration of the care, problem solve, troubleshoot the care, and who's going to be in your corner when you're weaker and vulnerable and need someone to advocate on your behalf? So care coordination and advocacy. And then finally, access to quality care. This is equally important as the other 2 pillars, right? You may have heard that there's a labor shortage nationally in literally every field. Well, providers of long-term care are certainly no different, and the pandemic has made that worse. So it's really important that we understand and evaluate, while we have the capacity to do so, who will be available, who's properly licensed, credentialed, insured, especially if we want these individuals coming into our home. How can we ensure that we have access to quality-based care? So again, those are the 3 pillars of long-term care planning. If you have those 3 covered, you have a rock-solid plan. What sort of things are we planning for? What specifically are we talking about that we should be prepared to manage? Well, here is essentially a laundry list of many of the supports and services that we may need as we age, either as a result of an accident, an injury, a procedure, or simply the normal process of aging and decline. So the first 2, skilled nursing and rehabilitative care, and home health care. Those 2 categories are skilled medical care. They are ordered by a physician. They are delivered to you by a licensed, qualified medical provider, and such as an OT, a PT, an MD, an RD, and an RN. And because of that, they are called, that's healthcare, right? Skilled medical care. Skilled medical care is covered by Medicare, thank goodness, or your private health insurance. Everything else on this list is what is known as custodial care. It is not health care. It goes hand in hand with healthcare. You may be needing both at the same time, but everything else on this list, beginning with just that little bit of help with transportation, meal preparation, laundry, light housekeeping, all the way down through long-term nursing care, it is what is known as custodial care. So who pays for that? We do, or if we have long-term care insurance, our long-term care insurance will pay for some of these services some of the time after your deductible, or rather after your waiting period or elimination period has been met. So everything in the red box, we as individuals are responsible for covering. Make sense? Okay. So If we are responsible for the costs of those services, obviously it makes sense to understand what those costs are. So here is a slide. The numbers are rather horrifying, but here is a slide which represents average annual costs of care in our area. So average annual costs of care. Again, I encourage you to explore these numbers on your own. If you're looking at facilities, certainly some are more than less, some are significantly more than this. But assisted living, a private room, averages $200 to $300 a day, depending on where you are and the level of care that you need. That's about $75,000 annually. A room in a private nursing facility, more than $110,000 annually. And if you want someone to come into your home, a home health aide, you should budget in current dollars about $30, really at least $30 an hour for an individual to come into your home. Most agencies have a 4-hour minimum, so that's $120 a day. And this $87,360 is based on 8 hours a day for the year. So obviously, if you need more services at home, that $87,000 will be an additional cost. So the costs are significant. It's important to understand them before we need these services. And it's important to be prepared to pay for them. Secondly, who is going to do all the work of coordinating my care? Beginning with maybe keeping me healthy to begin with. What we're doing now can impact how soon we need care later. So do you feel confident that you're doing everything you can to stay as healthy as possible, maybe to get to that yoga class? Do you have someone to be your health coach, help you manage your health and wellness goals? Think about that, because certainly it impacts your long-term care future. Are you managing your chronic conditions as well as you possibly can? This is another big influencer of how soon you may need long-term care. If your chronic conditions are not well managed, you are likely to need more assistance sooner rather than later. So who is helping you to manage your chronic conditions? Who can help ensure that your home, if you're currently living in your home, a private residence, is as safe as it can possibly be now, and that it can safely support your changing needs and abilities as you age? So have you thought about that? Have you thought about identifying things in your home that might be a current danger, maybe a home safety inspection, and having someone talk to you about what may need to be modified if your goal is to remain at home through end of life? And then if you do need to make some modifications to your home, who is it that is a vetted vendor who can help you make those modifications? And then if and when you need supports and services, either temporarily as a result of an accident, injury, illness, or as your needs and abilities start to decline, who is it that can coordinate that care, oversee that care, manage that care, and advocate for you? So I'm going to spend an extra minute on this category, right? So this is care coordination and advocacy. Sometimes when I'm working with couples, they say, understandably, well, we're going to do this work for each other. So I think it's important to recognize, I'm already getting laughter in here. I think it's important to recognize, A, that this is time-consuming, labor-intensive work that requires expertise, and there's an emotional toll if we're trying to do this work for our loved ones. B, our spouse is aging right along with us. So in general, this is not that we want what is best for our spouse. It's not really very practical to think that we can coordinate care for our spouse. Well, what about our children? Well, again, I've talked about the consequences to our loved ones if we don't make a plan, but if you plan for your children to be your care coordinator, you need to talk to them now about what that work will involve and what your plan is. It can be very difficult for our children. Many times our children don't live in town. They have busy lives of their own. They want what is best for us, but rarely are they able to drop their busy lives and come back home to take care of mom or dad. I often share the example with folks that I'm speaking to of my daughter. She's a wonderful 29-year-old young woman. I tried to have a conversation with her about my long-term care, and she basically shut me down, like talk to the hand. Her response was, oh, Mom, don't worry about that. You can just come live with me And then you can be my full-time nanny. So the issue here is that she doesn't really understand, and I would say probably can't comprehend, that I am going to be a lot needier at some point in my life, if I'm lucky enough to live long enough, than I am right now. So children are tricky. Yes, they want what's best for us, but rarely do they really have the time and the expertise to do this really, really difficult work. Who's going to coordinate with our skilled medical providers, right? It can be challenging enough to navigate the healthcare system when we're well. Imagine trying to do it when we're not. But we need someone to advocate for us to ensure that our outcomes are as good as they can possibly be. And then finally, who's going to be there simply to hold our hand, right? How can we ensure that we have someone in our corner? I would argue that, in the same way, maybe if you need legal help, you have a lawyer on your team. If you need help with your taxes, maybe you get an accountant to be on your team. I think it's just as important to have a long-term care expert on your team as you age. So finally, how can we ensure that we have that access to quality care? There is an enormous scarcity of labor nationally, particularly when it comes to long-term care providers. One of the primary reasons is simply the demographics of our country, the baby boomers, right? There are a lot of us, 10,000 of us are turning 65 every day. There is not a proportionately large population to care for us. So it's simply scarcity, it's supply and demand. There are not enough quality providers. Nonetheless, at the time that we need supports and services, we want to ensure that we can marshal our resources, that we already have it teed up. So I've walked you through the framework. Now I want to give you a little bit of information about ChooseHome. So ChooseHome will meet those three criteria of planning: the care coordination and advocacy, the access to quality care, and the financial protection. Now, ChooseHome is not the only way, as I said, that you can make a plan, but it happens to be a plan that's already built and proven, and it's available to you by virtue of where you live. So I want to spend a little more time on ChooseHome for those of you who might be interested in aging safely in place, and specifically exploring a program like ChooseHome. So ChooseHome is a membership-based program built for older adults. You have to be 55 or older to join our program. And our members are planning ahead to age in place for now or forever. So our members are healthy and active and independent at the time that they join, but they acknowledge that at some point they may need a little bit of help. So our members are planners. You can think about ChooseHome as a retirement community that comes to you. So I'm going to use the example of Warwick Forest here. Warwick Forest is a Riverside continuing care retirement community. It is a wonderful community that I encourage you to look at if you have not already, but not everybody wants to live in a retirement community. Here is the advantage of a continuing care retirement community. You qualify and move into independent living. There's a requirement for you to move into independent living. Specifically, you have to be living independently, right? You move into independent living, you decorate your apartment or villa, it becomes your new home. Now, as your needs change, if they feel you can no longer live in independent living, you will then move. Your next move may be to assisted living. From assisted living, you may move to nursing or memory care. So all of your needs are met within that one campus. However, you will be moving as your needs and abilities change. So ChooseHome takes that same model and we build it right around you, wherever it is that you want to be. You join the program when you're relatively healthy, living independently, you're active, and then as your needs and abilities change, we step up the supports and services, providing them to you wherever it is that you want to be, including in your home, including through end of life. So comprehensive support to keep you safe and comfortable and in your home for as long as you want to be there. But can you change your mind later and move to a facility? Of course you can. Or independent living, of course you can. Because remember, our goal is to support you living wherever it is that you want to be. Heart and soul of the ChooseHome program is this bullet that I just put up on the screen. So with ChooseHome, membership includes 24/7 access to care coordination. Every ChooseHome member is partnered with an individual we call a personal services coordinator at the time they join the program. You can think of them as your care concierge. They begin to work with you when you're healthy and active. We do everything we can to keep you healthy and active for as long as possible. And then as your needs start to change, we step up supports and services. So that question I asked about who is going to do all the work, with ChooseHome, it's your personal services coordinator, not your children, not your spouse. We will work with them, we will reassure them, but we are going to be the ones doing the work of the care coordination and ensuring that you have access to quality care. And then finally, the ChooseHome program offers options for financial protection against the cost of care. This is like long-term care insurance, but we pay for more sooner. So 60% of the members who join ChooseHome already have some long-term care insurance. But if you don't have long-term care insurance, you can still certainly join ChooseHome and we can be your long-term care insurance. So we've bundled all those up together into a complete plan, which provides you the peace of mind to know that you can remain in your home for as long as you want to be there or safely transition to somewhere else if you change your mind. So quickly, I will walk you through a little graphic about how this, I'm going to call it a virtual retirement community, works. So you join ChooseHome when you're living independently in your home or independent living. You have that cute little house with the red roof. You join ChooseHome because you're medically eligible. One of the first things your personal services coordinator does is they come in and do a home safety assessment. We are going to identify for you anything that might be an immediate danger for you in the home where you're currently living, as well as help to identify things that may need to be modified as your needs and abilities change. It's always your choice whether to make these modifications, but if at any point you do want to make these modifications, we have a very long list of vetted vendors, so we'll make some recommendations to you about who can actually do this work. We'll even help you get the work scheduled. The work itself, the modifications themselves would be out of pocket to you, but we will facilitate getting the work done. ChooseHome offers programs to support wellness. We're going to be your health coach. We will absolutely help you better manage your chronic disease. We provide social and educational opportunities for our members. And of course, we begin the process of proactive care planning. So we want to make sure that you have your power of attorney in place. We'll review your advance directives. We'll talk to your emergency contacts. And most importantly, we'll talk about how long it is that maybe you want to remain in your home and what would cause you to not want to be in your home. And let's talk about what that transition would look like and where would you want to be next. So we will help you craft that full long-term care plan all the way through end of life, acknowledging that you have the ability to change that plan at any point if your goals change. So at some point, for most of us, our needs and abilities start to change. One of the first things that we often need help with is transportation, just like my dad. Should have gotten help before he did. So for ChooseHome members, we will coordinate and pay for transportation to essential services. That would be the grocery store, the bank, your doctor's visits, and the pharmacy. We also provide you with some in-home technology to help ensure that you can continue to age safely in place, such as a fall alert device. If and when you ever need any home-based services, we will identify the right kind of care. We will work with the agency, which may be Riverside, to get that care initiated. We will place that care in your home. We will oversee that care. So if you ever have an issue with any provider who comes into your home, you simply call your personal services coordinator. You never have to deal with the agency directly. And then if at any point you do need some facility-based care, we will facilitate all of that for you as well. Maybe it's post-joint replacement. We'll talk to you about what facility you want to be in. We have what's called priority access to Riverside facilities. ChooseHome members can leapfrog on the waiting list by virtue of being a ChooseHome member. We will assist with advocating for you while you're receiving facility-based care. And if it is your goal to leave that facility as soon as possible, that becomes our goal for you as well. So we'll help get you in, we'll help get you discharged, we'll help get you out once you are safely able to go back home, including, again, placing care in your home if needed so that you can continue to rehabilitate where you want to be. So really soup to nuts in terms of the entire continuum of care, as I said, all the way up through 24/7. Now, if at any point you decide you want to move from that cute little red roofed home, because we're this virtual retirement community, all of the benefits of our program are portable. So you can take your ChooseHome membership and all your benefits with you wherever it is that you want to go. So I hope that graphic was, because I know we're explaining a virtual retirement community is kind of difficult, but I hope that graphic was helpful. So I talked about called the personal services coordinator. You can think of them as your care concierge. Now their role is going to evolve over time because of course, at the time you join ChooseHome, you don't need services. You're just planning ahead. So their goal is initially to help you stay as independent as possible for as long as possible. That's in our best interest. That's in your best interest. But they are available. Care coordination is available through ChooseHome 24/7, including all your health and safety needs. Maybe you simply have a plumbing emergency or you have a tree come down. You can call your personal services coordinator so that we can get you a vetted vendor. We don't want someone coming onto your property or certainly into your home whom we do not know and trust. That's a safety issue. And then if and when you need services, your personal services coordinator will schedule, manage, oversee, and help with the administration of any care that you are receiving, be it in your home or in a facility. Always advocating for the best interests of our members. Working with skilled medical care to ensure smooth transitions. You will hear one of our members, I have a short video in just a moment. You will hear one of our members speak to the value of that. Work to optimize any existing long-term care insurance and ChooseHome benefits. So ChooseHome helps to pay for your cost of care. But if you already have long-term care insurance, you may be combining both ChooseHome benefits and your long-term care insurance benefits. Your personal services coordinator can assist with the initiation of the long-term care benefits and also identify which financial benefits you should use soonest, because again, the goal here, of course, is for the financial benefits to last a lifetime. And then finally, works with a member to ensure that you find the right time to move. If your goal is at some point to move to a continuing care retirement community in independent living, you don't want to miss the window to move into independent living because they too have a medical qualification. We've had other instances where members have simply decided that they wanted to move to be closer to a child. We assisted with that transition. We can find movers, we can find people to declutter. Real estate agents, really anything that we can possibly do to ensure that you can continue to age safely and well in the place of your choosing. And then finally, support a family when a loved one is receiving services. Our children, our spouse, they want what's best for us, even if they are not able to do this work. But certainly we build a relationship with family as well so that they can be reassured and have the same peace of mind that our members do, that they're going to be well cared for. So I have this little graphic just to show you how important the role of the personal services coordinator is. You may or may not be able to see all the things that they can assist with, but all the way through home maintenance, technology, wellness, social, spiritual, educational, all the way down through palliative and hospice care. We manage all these things for all of our members. It sounds like a lot because it is a lot. So but that's really the benefit of joining ChooseHome, is that you have this care concierge that you can rely upon. So I think my video is next. I'm going to get it teed up. This is a member, Brad Crawford, he joined, I believe, when he's 66. He's going to tell you his story about joining ChooseHome, a little bit about why he joined and what his experience has been. And if I can get my video to play, we'll let Mr. Crawford take it away.
I'm Brad Crawford. My wife Jan and I, we met in high school. And the first time I heard her play the trumpet was the song The Holy City. And I guess that's probably what drew me to her, because I played trumpet too. I've been a member of ChooseHome for about 4 years now. My wife Jan and I joined when we were 66 and extremely healthy. And so it was a great program that we ran across, and it just seemed like a great fit for us, especially the personal care coordinator.
I'm Hannah Barton. I am a personal services coordinator with Riverside ChooseHome. The ChooseHome program is a life care at home program. With the program, individuals join when they're healthy, and then we help them as their needs change, looping in doctors and specialists, home health and hospice, and even things such as friends and family, and making sure that they all know what their roles are. I think the big thing is just the members do become family, and I know that we feel the same way for them. Brad often says it's like having an adopted daughter that lives locally since his daughter is in Cambodia.
I don't have to feel like I'm isolated and I'm alone, because I know that I'm not alone. We joined in December of 17, and it was only about 6 months later that my wife was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. When Jan did have the surgery, the following morning, I was sitting in a hotel room, Jan was unconscious, and in walks this nice hospital discharge lady. She starts asking me question after question. All of a sudden, my head went blank. I got my phone out and I handed it to the discharge lady and I said, call Hannah. Whatever Hannah says is fine with us. It just, I don't know how to describe it other than just total peace of mind. She was the love of my life, and her body lasted until one day after our 35th wedding anniversary. It's just so comforting to me to know that as I age and as my body starts to have more issues, that I have ChooseHome and Hannah. You're joining while you still are healthy, because you never know what's around the corner. You know, in our case, it was only 6 months.
ChooseHome bundles them all together. Members who already have long-term care insurance tend to join ChooseHome under a very low-level plan. They just want a small amount of financial supplementation. Members who don't have long-term care insurance tend to join under a higher-level plan. Importantly, the financial piece of ChooseHome, we are not a long-term care insurance company. We are Riverside Health System, so we pay for and behave differently than a long-term care insurance company. Specifically, we do not have a waiting period because we do not want anyone waiting to have care. And secondly, we pay for more services sooner. So long-term care insurance policies pay when you are significantly disabled or have cognitive impairment. Significantly disabled is classified as needing assistance with 2 of the 6 activities of daily living: eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, or continence care. If you cannot do 2 of those things or need assistance with 2 of those things, you are significantly impaired. With ChooseHome, we pay beginning when you are partially impaired: meal preparation, light housekeeping, laundry, medication management. Why do we pay for more sooner? Well, we think it's because that is the best way to proactively support our members. We believe that a little bit of care sooner rather than later can prevent that need, can maybe prevent that need for catastrophic care, prevent you from qualifying for that need for catastrophic care for as long as possible. So early intervention promotes successful outcomes in the same way that reason and for the same reason you go to see your PCP annually. You want to catch a problem when it's small rather than when it becomes big. So what does all this cost you? This is not really the appropriate. I will tell you, I have folders that have a price list. There are couples discounts, there are other discounts available, but if you want to ballpark, take one with you. Share it with a friend if it's not for you. But I want to give you a little bit of an idea of the cost of the program, because otherwise you'll walk out of here saying, okay, sounds good, but there is a price tag associated with it. In fact, that's one of the downfalls of ChooseHome, right? It's a wonderful program, but you do have to pay for it. We have priced it reasonably and in accordance with cost of care, we believe. So with ChooseHome, you are prepaying at a significant discount towards a future cost of care. We have a wide range of plans depending on what you need. The lowest level plan, we will pay $110 a day towards your cost of care. And the highest level plan will pay $275 a day towards your cost of care. So on the low end, the day you join the program, you have about $120,000 worth of care that we'll pay for. On the high end, we'll provide you with $500,000 worth of those insured services. There is a one-time entrance fee for our program that begins at around $8,000, and then there's an ongoing monthly fee that begins at $350. If you are 75 or younger, we have no entrance fee options available for you. And if you are only looking for the care coordination, if you're like, I've got the financial piece, but I want someone to do all the work, we also have a plan called care coordination only. There's no entrance fee, and it's $275 a month so that you can have that care concierge, that partner, to be your long-term care expert on your team. But there's no financial benefit with that plan. So cost of care would be out of pocket to you or to your long-term care insurance if and when you qualify. So lots and lots and lots of options that I'm happy to talk about to you one-on-one. And again, there's some sample pricing in the packets if you'd like to take one. Importantly, all plans require medical qualification. All plans require medical qualification. So we are not a 911 home care agency. We are for planners, right? So ChooseHome is, if this is a program that you think is for you, is something that I would encourage you to vet fully while you have the best possibility of qualifying. It's easier to qualify in your 60s than in your 70s. It's easier to qualify in your 70s than in your 80s. That said, we don't have an age cap, but we do have a medical qualification. So the ChooseHome mantra is that we're an innovative program for active, independent adults who wish to age with dignity and autonomy in the place of their choosing. Who doesn't, right? Is ChooseHome the only way you can age with dignity and autonomy in the place of your choosing? Absolutely not, right? But the benefit of our program is that this is what we have been built to do, and we are proven with our now nearly 200 members to do just that. So that brings us to the fact that, at this point, all of you walked in here under your own power. You all have, from what I can tell, right, some options, right? You're not in need of care. There's no emergent situation. So I encourage you to think about where it is that you want to be, put together your plan while you sort of are in the driver's seat in terms of your long-term care options, because as we age, our options shrink until we get to that point where other people are having to make our decisions for us. I talk to people every single week who maybe came to a presentation like this or a lunch and learn. They learned about ChooseHome and they're like, oh, that's great. I'll think about that. And they wait to call me until they've had a change in health status. And then in many instances at that point, it's too late. So I'm back to my original message, right, of the presentation, which is plan. Craft your own vision. Think about what you want. Think about the care coordination, advocacy, access to quality care, financial protection, and put together a plan which will support your goals and priorities now through end of life. One of the things I encourage people to do if they are interested in the program is to talk to our members. We are having an online member panel. So this is simply an opportunity to talk to wonderful members like Brad and ask him questions of your own. I think that Mackenzie will be emailing out this presentation, so that'll have my contact information. If you need have questions for me or you want to attend the member panel, I'd love to have you. We'll put that on the email. So just let me know and I'll send you a Zoom link. Finally, I'll leave you with a picture of our team. So currently we have 3 personal services coordinator, executive director in the middle, as well as some support staff. And that reminds me that that video of Brad, I promised him that I would tell people every time I show that video, I would tell people, Brad has lost 30 pounds since that video was filmed. So glad I just remembered to do that. So at any rate, this has been a pleasure. I am now have some time to take questions, and we may have some online or some from, yes, ma'am, live. Great question. Okay, I'm going to repeat it so the people on Zoom can hear. So first, this woman acknowledged that she's already a planner. She has long-term care insurance. She thought about it in her 40s, so kudos to you. However, she's seen, as many people have, that the cost of her long-term care insurance has increased significantly. There are lots of reasons for that. We could talk about that later because yeah. So she wants to know, well, how about the cost with ChooseHome? How does that increase? So first, the entrance fee, of course, it's one time. So that doesn't increase. It's one and done. You pay it and you never pay it again. The ongoing monthly fees, we have in our disclosure statement, the amount that we have raised it annually. And some years we haven't raised it. We've raised it up to a maximum of 3%. Our goal is for it to be a stable and predictable increase. That said, I don't know what it's going to be this year because there have been extraordinary increases in the cost of care. My opinion is that I would be stunned if it went up more than 5% because Riverside as a system is very, very conservative, but I can't make that guarantee to you. It's something that we talk about during the process, what the annual increases are likely to be, and that might impact, what plan you chose. It's never been more than 3, but I cannot tell you that it will never be more than 3. Great question. So we try to keep it in line and conservative, but reflective of the cost of care. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I know what you're talking about. So the question is with respect to the slides. On one of the slides versus long-term care insurance, it said no medical approval, yet there's some confusion because I said there's some medical approval required to join ChooseHome. The medical approval on the slide versus long-term care insurance means that for your long-term care insurance benefits to be triggered, your long-term care insurance company is going to want a third-party certification, a medical certification that you are qualified for your benefits. With ChooseHome, we don't require that. We make that decision ourselves. So we don't say, oh no, we need higher level of certification for you to qualify for benefits. We make that decision ourselves. To join the program, yes, we have a certain qualification that must be met to join the program. In brief, because that's all I can do right now, no active cancer diagnosis, no diagnosis of cognitive impairment, no neurological degenerative disease, ALS, MS, Parkinson's. There are a few others, but we have special provisions if we have a couple who wants to join together and one is medically qualified and one is not. So that's a long answer, but if you want more specifics, I'm happy to talk to you about that one-on-one. Mackenzie, other questions from our Zoomers? No, okay. And one more. Yes. So the question is, what do you pay for? So we pay for all the supports and services, all the custodial supports and services that I listed in that red box on one of the first slides. So beginning with transportation, a home companion to help with meal preparation, medication management, light housekeeping, laundry. We pay for in-home care up to 24/7. We pay for adult day services. If you need facility-based care or want to go to assisted living or nursing facility, we will pay for that up to your daily maximum at the Riverside facility of your choice. But again, you don't have to move to a facility. We just have some members who at some point, for a variety of reasons, say that has become their preference. Does that answer that question? Okay, great. Yes, ma'am. So the question is, well, what if you don't have Riverside physicians? What if you have Centera physicians? So that's not custodial care, that's skilled medical care. And though we think Riverside physicians are the best, we recognize that excellent physicians work across the system. And if you have trusted relationships with Cynthia, TPMG, we work with every physician as long as you're happy with that physician. And we would want you to retain that relationship, because that's, goes hand in hand with what we're doing to keep you independent. Does not have to be a Riverside physician. Nope, not at all. Great question. Anything else? No? All right. Well, Mackenzie, do you want me to wrap it up? Okay, so the question is, what is the couples discount? There is a couples discount on the entrance fee, which ranges from about, on each entrance fee, which ranges from about 7.5% to 15% based on the plan that you join under. So again, it's really, I'm happy to provide pricing details if someone just calls me. I put together pricing for people all the time. That does not mean I feel that you're making a commitment of any sort. I really want to be a resource to all of you. I believe very strongly in ChooseHome Riverside, but it's not the best choice. It's not the best choice for everyone. So yeah, I'm happy to help get pricing specifics. Just send me an email or give me a call. Yes, ma'am. Great question. So the question was about, well, what if I move? And we did talk about this during the presentation, but it's important to review. So we have a provision in our program called portability. Because we're this virtual retirement community, you can take our benefits anywhere you go. So if you move out of the Riverside footprint, not only will we pay for your care, right, out of the Riverside footprint, we will also continue to coordinate your care. You'll still have access to your personal services coordinator. We will not be able to be there with you live like we are now, but we will have built a relationship with you, so you still have access to us via phone, via Zoom, via FaceTime, however it is that you are comfortable communicating with your personal services coordinator at that point. And we have, in fact, had members move outside of state, and we continue to coordinate and pay for their care. Great question. All right. Well, I will stick around for a little bit. I want to thank all of you, particularly my live audience, for braving this weather today. Really impressive. You all get bonus points, and I'm happy to help you in any way you can. So in any way I can. So thanks so much.